Hey guys, Check Lifestyle here back with another video. Today's video you're going to hear from ITM Trading on BRICS, and he's basically saying you don't need a pegged current. Well, no, how can I explain it? You He will explain it. Actually, it's better for him to say. But basically, we the US is done. The BRICS nations are forming on their own organization against the West and its corrupt system, and they want to be really more legitimate in terms of trading and stuff like that, using their real world assets like gold, silver, all that kind of stuff. I mentioned the video yesterday anyway, and then we're going to hear from ITM Trading again, Peter Orange, on the recession, and then you're going to hear from, I think it's Brad, no, about regulation on the crypto space, the CBDC, and how it's likely to be forced on the people when that's not a good way to look at it, in my view. But well, it's not a good thing to happen, them forcing a CBDC, and people need to wake up to this aspect. And then we're going to hear from Brad Garlinghouse, and Janet Yellen will finish this off with regulations for digital assets and stablecoins. Anyway, I hope you like this kind of content. If you do, please do like and subscribe. Take care of yourself. Have a great day. Listen to the whole video. Very important. Okay? Take care of yourselves.
You don't need a reserve currency to store money. There's a million things you can store it in a basket. I can sell you something in Zimbabwe dollars. A microsecond later, convert them to Japanese yen. So you don't need this big pile of dollars everywhere. And people are talking about the BRICS and how, that'll be a stupid currency that'll never get liked. The BRICS is not about a currency. I don't think the people who talk about the BRICS and currency have it right. The BRICS is about a fundamental shift in alliances in the world. You've got 20 countries, including Arabs, saying we're going to go with Russia and China.
You take the BRICS seriously.
That is a fundamental.
You're watching them and saying they mean business.
Well, not just that. There are 20 countries saying we're not aligning with the United States now. We're aligning with Russia, China, right? India.
Yeah.
This is a revolt.
Because recessions do not happen on their own. It is not natural.
Right.
Think about it, right? What is a recession? So you've got a bunch of businessmen who are, starting businesses or operating businesses, and every so often they screw up. And they lose a bunch of money, they have to downsize, they go out of business. Okay, so, whatever, 3% of businessmen every year screw up and they fail out of the game. But in a recession, it's more like 20%. So why does that happen? Why does everybody get stupid all of a sudden? Right? It's not natural. It should, you should have year in, year out. Most businesses are doing okay. Some are doing great. Some are doing terrible.
Yep.
And, you subtract one from the other and you've got, whatever, regular growth. Instead, what the Fed does is by manipulating interest rates, it gives you this boom bust cycle. So you get this big tissue fire boom where nobody can do no wrong, right? The guy who started WeWork, that stupid office sharing, he could get tens of billions of dollars in funding. Uber was, losing money for like 7 years or something. All right, so money is free because the Fed made it free. So nobody screws up. No businessmen go out of business. You could be the biggest idiot on Wall Street and you're not going bust because you just borrow more money, right? Uber, you could lose, I think it was billions of dollars they lost every single year for 7 years, and they just borrowed more money. So nobody fails. And then when you choke off the money all of a sudden, now, yes, 20% fail. All right, so the recession is caused by the Fed. It is not natural. There is no business cycle. It is a central bank cycle.
So crazy.
The inflation is caused by the Fed. So the Fed is not fine-tuning some, physical phenomenon of nature that's just out there. They are fine-tuning the damage they do to the world.
I grew up, Even though I haven't lived in America for 6 years, I'm very familiar with the way that monetary and fiscal policy work over there. And you have a very divisive and opinionated public over there. And you've got a lot of people who happily go along with the things that the government asks them to do, and then you have a lot of people who ask questions and wonder if this is really in their own best interest. Right now, I think it would be very unpopular to try to enter a CBDC into the American population, and they know that, right? And they know. And I don't think that America has been watching China work on a CBDC for 5 or 6 years and doesn't have one in their back pocket ready to go. I think that they absolutely do. The question is, how are they going to implement it, right? And we know that the government, unfortunately in America, left the great vision of a very radical idea with very minimal government intervention and very much pure democracy to a very controlling state, where you saw that even more recently than ever with lockdowns. But in order for them to usher in a radical new idea, they need to create an environment to where the public is asking for it, right? And you have a very particular time in America happening right now where you have CPI or inflation increasing, still not under control. Interest rates are higher than ever. Bond markets are crashing. The highest stimulus injection into the economy ever outside of wartime and pandemic was just announced by the Biden administration, almost $1 trillion. We're inflating the monetary supply by over $1 trillion a year for the past 20-something years on average. So you have a very unsustainable system that's happening right now that they cannot kick the can down the road much longer. People are starting to lose faith in the ability for the U.S. to pay back their debts. This is why the bond market is not doing so well, and people are going to look elsewhere to put their money. So how do you implement something like a CBDC, which gives much more control to the government over what you choose to do with your money? Things like if they need to stimulate the economy, they can make it so that your money expires if you don't use it after a certain period of time. Well, they need an event to happen where people are asking for it. So in my opinion, the way that...
I'd like you to address some of the rumors circling around. I mean, there are indications that perhaps your biggest rival, SWIFT, will be joining you. Could you shed some light?
Well, look, SWIFT is owned by the banks, and we are here to help the banks. We feel like blockchain technologies are a massive step function forward in terms of how correspondent banking has historically worked. The technologies that banks use today that SWIFT developed decades ago really hasn't evolved and kind of kept up with the market. And so we feel like we're here to help the banks. SWIFT is owned by the banks. There have been opportunities where maybe there's partnership opportunities. We haven't been able to bring those to fruition, but we're going to keep focusing on solving the customer problem. SWIFT said not that long ago they didn't see blockchain as a solution to correspondent banking. We've got well over 100 of their customers saying that they disagree.
So strictly internet rumors, yes? Just to clarify.
Rumors. There's lots of rumors, and I'm hesitant to comment on any rumor because if you comment on the false rumors, then you have to comment on the true rumors, and so you just avoid all of them.
Is there a possibility that Ripple could take over SWIFT one day?
Well, I think what we're doing and executing on a day-by-day basis is, in fact, taking over SWIFT, in that we've now signed up well over 100 banks. Some of the largest SWIFT-enabled banks in the world are now using Ripple's technology. Just last week, we saw a remittance company who's using Ripple's technology. They reduced the price per transaction to their consumers from $20 per transaction to $2 per transaction, and they saw an 800% increase in usage overnight. That's the type of dynamic that SWIFT isn't able to support that we're able to address right now. And that's something we saw just in the last couple of weeks. So we certainly want to see banks succeed in this new world order and take advantage of these technologies. To the extent we can work with SWIFT to do that, then that's great.
Council is focused on digital assets and related risks, such as from runs on crypto asset platforms and stablecoins, potential vulnerabilities from crypto asset price volatility, and the proliferation of platforms acting outside of or out of compliance with applicable laws and regulations. Applicable rules and regulations should be enforced, and Congress should pass legislation to provide for the regulation of stablecoins and of the spot market for crypto assets that are not securities. We look forward to continuing to engage with Congress on this. With this overview, I look forward to taking your questions on these and